topic of awareness is very essential for me in everything we do with horses. How we create awareness and how we communicate it. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is important, in my opinion. And I'm going to show you as well how to communicate awareness and how to handle things with a young horse. Though it is not only important for young horses, I think it is very important to be aware of awareness for all horses, because if we start well with the young ones, then we might have less problems later on. In this video, I'm going to introduce the topic of awareness to you with Socke. At the time of filming, Socke was 2 years old and he was usually living outside with his body. But because of the castration, they had been entered into the stable and he started his basic little horse school, and I was training with him once a week in very, very short sequences. So why is awareness such an important foundation when we think of everything we do with our horses? Awareness itself is the basis for learning. So if I want to learn something, or if I'm occupied with something, I have to give it my focus and my attention. That's very clear, I think. And if we want to communicate with horses, horses as prey animals are very, very good in paying attention to their environment via their senses. They have to react if something changes, so they have to be aware of stimuli around them. So horses are very sensitive to the stimuli of their environment, because if there is a potential threat, they have to react. So when we start working with horses, we need to get their attention. And we need to be worth it as well, that they pay attention to us in their environment they know and in their natural survival instincts. So why does it make a difference if we are capable of communicating a horse our attention? For example, if I want to communicate with a person and that person is actually looking far out, not in my direction, it doesn't make me feel good to communicate with them. Actually, I lose interest. It's boring. I don't feel seen. So if I can communicate to a horse, hey, I see you and I see where your attention is, that's actually a very good start for communication. And that goes in both directions. So if I can communicate the horse, hey, I really have my attention on you and what you're doing, then I can as well see where the horse's attention is. And I need to be capable of realizing where their attention is if I want to communicate with them. Because we need, in a horse-human connection, if I come with my human language and I want to start like giving cues or aids or whatever, I want to communicate in my human way with the horse, I need the horse to have their awareness on me, because if they are not paying attention to my cues, that's kind of making it difficult. And a very important aspect of awareness is as well that horses have a need to feel secure. So if I go, what I see very often, for example, is that people walk somewhere with their horses and the horse suddenly stops and looks in a direction. And people are like, oh, there's nothing. And they just continue walking. And that's actually a problem, because the horse will have the feeling that you are not realizing a stimulus of the environment. So potentially you would not realize if there is a threat. So it doesn't make sense then to really ask you for your opinion. So if a horse, for example, says, oh, I have my attention. So for a horse, it's very important to feel safe and secure that you are realizing stimuli from the environment and that you are capable of communicating with your horse. I see it as well. So this question of, I'm aware of what's happening, I'm aware of where your attention is, and I see where you are concerned, is very important to create an environment where the horse can feel safe with us. So that's very natural in a herd. In a herd, there's always someone paying attention to the stimuli of the environment, which change for survival. So to start a good learning basis, it is important that we can give our horses that feeling by showing them, hey, we are aware as well. So actually in showing where my awareness is, that I see where my horse's awareness is, and that I am aware of our environment as well, I can prove myself worthy for my horse to pay attention to me as well. And that is really important if we work together for our feeling of having a safe space where we learn together and where we communicate. And communicating awareness like this I see you, you see me thing asks of us as humans to really be aware and present in the moment as well, because that's something our horses are always in the present here and now, and we sometimes are in our thoughts somewhere, like yesterday or 2 hours ago, or what I'll have to do afterwards. So it trains us as well if we pay attention to where our attention is and where our awareness is. Not only to be in the moment and to be more refined in that skill, but it as well is an absolute essential thing to pay attention and be aware of the state of our horse. Because if I want to communicate with my horse and I want to teach my horse something, and let's say I use cues like a lead rope or whatever it is, body language, whatever, but my horse doesn't have their attention on me but somewhere else. That's a problem. So I need to be capable of seeing in a moment where I'm interacting and communicating if my horse is in the state to really see my cues and what I'm doing. I often see it in horse training. It happens that actually people do not read where their horse's awareness is right now in a moment, and they come with a cue. The horse doesn't react because the horse is not even paying attention there right now. And then they kind of, add pressure or, make their signs get louder in their aids. And that's actually unfortunate, because if we can say, hey, horsey, I see your attention went off, and ask their attention back and know how to communicate that, we can keep a far more friendly and kind communication with all our aids as well. And this capability of basically asking the horse, hey, can you focus on me? Or saying like, I see where you are with your attention. Can we get back in the same space together? Is very, very important for the relationship as well. Because in stables, we often have like situations, you have people who, for example, who bring horses out in the pasture and bring them in. And you have people who feed, who do the stable, whatever it is. And a lot of them are not communicating in a very aware way with each horse all the time, which is not possible for most of the people working there. So when you come actually and you are capable of giving your horse that exact feedback in the here and now, it creates really a feeling of, wow, I'm being seen. And when we communicate, horse, humans, human, horse, whatever it is, this feeling of, hey, I'm really seen, it motivates. It really motivates to communicate and to learn together. So this feedback is so important for our communication. And this, I see where your senses are. I see whether we are together or not. And this constant interaction actually as well creates an attitude of curiosity. Because it's like, oh, you see me, I see you. And curiosity is a really good state for learning, because curiosity is an inner attitude which invites us to go towards something, to get curious about something. And that is a really, really supportive state of mind if we want to learn and grow. This is the first day I was ever working with him. So he is alone in the arena, and typically for a young horse, it stresses him. He's not used to being alone, and his friend, his buddy, is calling from outside. There is a lot of stimuli going on, like you can hear the sounds of tractors, of the people working around, and as you can see, he is very focused on the outside, so on his outside senses, trying to figure out the situation he is finding himself in. So what I'm doing is I start to communicate with him, showing him that I see where he is with his focus, so where his awareness is. So each time he is wandering off with his focus somewhere, I make, in this case I use a flag, I make a little sign with a flag, and as you could see here, he flicked the left ear backward. So each time I see that part of his senses comes back to me, or that he like kind of indicates with his body language that he saw my stimulus, in this case me moving the flag, I take the stimulus, the flag, away immediately. So actually I just communicate to him, here again his ear comes back when I wave the flag, I communicate him, I see where your focus is. This is a little bit later in the same session, and as you can see, he's a little bit calmer by now, and when I give a sign, as here you could see, I get more of the attention of his senses. So as in the beginning he could only flick an ear, now he's capable of looking at me, and here he even walks up to me and touches me. So I get more of his senses, like being able to focus them on me for very short periods of time. This is actually something which is very important for horses, because it makes them feel safe when they realize we see where their attention is, because that is very important in nature for survival. So the more competent I am in communicating that with him, the safer he will feel. As I installed this kind of communication with him, that I see where his focus is, I can then start using it. As you can see here, he's like very much focused on the outside because his friend is calling and so on. So I use the flag to see if I can get his attention on me, and I stretch the period of time where he focuses. So I give a new sign when I see his focus might drift off, and see if he can keep the focus for a moment. So I get ears, eyes, and a turning of the neck. And after a while, his whole body turns towards the flag in this case, so the stimulus I'm using. And he starts to follow it. And this is where actually his attitude changes to curiosity, which is what I really want to create in a horse, because when we learn and when we communicate, being curious about the task at hand is very, very important. And it's a very, very helpful inner attitude for each learning situation. And despite the inner attitude of curiosity, what they learn as well is to keep their focus on something. And that is like with little children as well. When little children start going to school, they do not have an attention span to keep the focus on something for a very long period of time. And so you can extend that period where the horse is focusing on a stimulus, and by that actually train their capacity of concentration already with such a simple exercise. And after a while, when they get used to this type of communication, I try to make smaller signs and to see if I can catch their attention from a little bit further away so that they actually learn to improve their capacity of focus. And when we have that, as you can see here with the water hose, we had a little problem. As you can see, there was more water in the arena than planned. And this same communication of curiosity and focus on something, I love to use that to introduce new things to horses and to actually have this kind of draw energy that they want to go after a stimulus to explore it in this case. So using curiosity to create an attitude, a physical attitude of going towards something instead of going away or backing up. Here we are outside again after the winter time had passed and the castration time was over. They were outside again, and naturally there's a lot more stimuli around, more stuff happening, weather stimulus, more sound and nature, trees moving. And so we repeated this, keeping the focus, can I catch your attention, can you hold the focus exercise outside to see if we can repeat our communication. And as you can see, we can. And in this short sequence, you can see how I implement the question for focus in the training actually. So here's a stimulus where Sokka's attention goes further away, and I just move the stick, I get his ear, and immediately he's capable of focusing back on me. And that is actually nice because you don't need strong, loud signs to just bring his attention back in the moment if you installed this type of communication. So if we integrate that aspect of awareness in our everyday communication and training with our horses, we do not only have a good tool for more successful learning and a better, more successful communication with one another, we have a very good tool as well to refine our relationship with our horses and to make it more conscious and connected.